Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, joined here by Alex, and today we're going to be doing the extra time segment from the Aston Villa game. Alex, first of all, mate, just give me your initial reaction from the game on Saturday.
Well, I mean, it wasn't great, was it? I think we were all hoping for a bit of a boost with Ferguson coming in, and a boisterous Goodison that was hopefully going to get us over the line and start to turn things around, but didn't really work out like that in the end. We struggled to get going, I thought, especially in the first half, and I think throughout the game we kind of lacked the quality to really get anything out of the game, and kind of just same old, really frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first half in particular was really tough to see. I think it was very much kept our defensive shape, but going forward, it was just poor, wasn't it? A couple of people have been mentioning, obviously, Gylfi Sigurdsson is in the squad, James Rodriguez gone, Luca Dean now. Do you think it was the matter that we missed those creative players, the ones with the ability to, play a ball that cuts the opposition's defence?
I think so, yeah, and I think we've got to address straight off that it was if you look at the team selection, I think a lot of people were surprised to see Anthony Gordon starting on the bench, and that was kind of justified by when he came on in the second half, and he pretty much looked like our only real creative outlet. And I think the stat was going around that he created more chance in the game than any player on the pitch, Everton or Villa, and he only had the second half. I came on about around 55 minutes. So it was tough to see, and a lot of the time we just didn't seem to really have any idea about how to try and break them down.
Yeah, Anthony Gordon. I think that was one of the things that he got heavily wrong, was benching him. It was nice to have a right-footed player on the right wing as well. No offense to Andros Townsend, but I think everybody can see, what's coming when he gets the ball. He has to cut inside onto his left foot. We can see it at home, so the defenders definitely can see it. And Luca Dean had him in his pocket for quite a bit of it. You obviously, you mentioned then about that. The other problem was set piece goal once again. This time it felt like a real sucker punch because it was obviously a Luca Dean cross, which was really good. But I think he might be the smallest player on the pitch in Buendia getting the header.
It was humiliating to see because I don't know if you remember, there was a point in the first half where I think it was actually when we had our own corner, and the referee had to stop play for a second just to talk to Yerry Mina and Buendia, who scored the goal. Because of a bit of pushing and just the referee telling him to cut it out, and it was actually getting a laugh from the crowd watching Buendia kind of try and square up to Yerry Mina because of the considerable height difference, and then the painful bit coming to bite us back in the arse, and Buendia popping up with a header at the front post to get Villa the win in the end. So it just goes to show, really, doesn't it? What goes around comes around, and it's an issue that has been plaguing us for so long now, and so frustrating yet again to score from a set piece like we did.
Yeah, I remember the incident you're on about because I was saying to my parents, I was watching it, I was like, who's told Buendia to mark Yerry Mina? I was like, it's hardly a fair fight. And then obviously I think it might have been Richarlison's man on the other side in the corner, and he might have just been a little bit too late to get to him, but it's, Townsend was on the line as well, but he was never getting that. Once it went over Pickford, who I think might have just fingertipped it over Townsend's head. He was never getting that, was he? Which is a shame, because other than the corner, I didn't think Villa were... Obviously, the first half was quite tough to watch. We didn't have a shot on target, but I don't think Villa had us on the ropes. I think the nature of the game, the intensity and the tackles broke it up a bit, but I never thought Villa had worrying chances. I think the only one where I thought it was going to score was Pickford's save, where it was offside, which was an incredible save by Pickford. But other than that, I didn't think Villa, were all over us. They weren't mauling us by any extent, I didn't think.
No, they didn't batter us, but I mean they were the better side in the first half. We have to give them credit. I think there was a couple of other chances. There was one where Watkins got through and he just poked it wide. To be fair, so yeah, they didn't, they didn't blow us away or anything like that. But I felt it was a much more professional performance from Aston Villa than ours, and they seemed to have more of a clue what was going on and that. And if we're being honest, like throughout the match, there was always really going to be one winner, especially once they got themselves in front like that. I never really thought we were going to score.
No, and I mean it's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, but obviously at half time I was sort of going, right, that's it. They were showing the stats, no shots on target, no shots at all. I was like, that's it. No offense to Duncan Ferguson, but his 4-4-2 was rigid. It kept its shape, but we just, we were never going to score from that. But the second half, I don't know what he told them, but we came out a little bit better in the second half. Give me your thoughts on that, on the second half and the intensity and the directness we started to play with.
Well, it's been a bit of a theme throughout the season. It's happened a lot. We've started slowly, usually fallen behind, and then came out in the second half a bit more G'd up. And sometimes it's enough to get a goal or two, and sometimes it isn't. And this was one of the cases where it wasn't. But yeah, we started to have a few more chances. Like I say, as I mentioned before, especially when Gordon came on, I thought we were a bit more creative. And then Calvert-Lewin had one or two chances he maybe could have done better with, and maybe a fully fit, up to speed Calvert-Lewin would have put one or two of them away. You never know. But yeah, it's frustrating because I think it goes to show that we need to be starting like this from the off, because it's almost always too late. With very rare exceptions that we actually get a goal or two and manage to get something out of the match. But yeah, it's often we see a change in the second half. But once again, like I said, this wasn't enough to get a goal.
Yeah, I said that as well. I think they showed a stat, didn't they, during the game, and it was like we'd scored 5 goals, 5 of our goals in the first half, and then like 19 in the second half of the game. They didn't say how many of those games we were losing before the second half, but alone that tells you a problem, isn't it? That we're a very reactionary football team at the minute. Socks don't get pulled up till it's maybe a little bit too late. And that was a prime example. It's interesting you mentioned Calvert-Lewin. Obviously, I agree with you. I think he was a little bit off his usual self. A couple of fans were saying, just had their critics for him, basically. Do you think it is just a matter of just not fully fit yet? He's missed half the season, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's always horrible to see. You always kind of feel that Calvert-Lewin is one of those players where one or two like below par performances, and suddenly all the critics are right back on his back again, which I think is quite unfair. For a lad who is still quite young and still like probably not reached his peak or anything like that yet. But yeah, I think yeah, he's still like it does seem a bit maybe rushed. It was often missed timing and stuff like that. Like he's usually so dominant in the air and so good with his leap and the timing of his jump and stuff like that, which has clearly been trained into him possibly by Duncan Ferguson and stuff like that. And that was missing on Saturday. And I think we missed that a lot, that aerial dominance. We've been missing it throughout the season, and to still not have it, with such towering centre backs as Tyrone Mings and Konsa that we're up against. You need that talisman, that focal point to be winning those headers, and he just wasn't quite up to speed with it, and that was frustrating. But yeah, I mean, we've got the international break now. I think that might give him a bit more time to maybe get back to speed a bit more, regain some sharpness and match fitness and that, and hopefully he can start scoring the goals again that we really need someone to step up and start doing. And I think it's on his shoulders as much as anyone else's.
Yeah, and he is linked, obviously. I know what you mean about just that little yard. I think it was Gordon's cross for one of them, and there was one where he'd slid to get to the ball before Mings, and sort of it went out for a throw-in to us, which was good by him. But I got that feeling, Calvert-Lewin on a regular fitness would have beat Mings to the ball. And that Gordon one, he slid in. I think he was just hoping, get a touch on it and he'll take it past the keeper. fitter Calvert-Lewin, I think, gets there before, doesn't have to lunge in quite as much. He'll get there before. I think, like you said, it's just a matter of getting up to his match fitness. He was never going to come in straight away off the bat from such a long injury and get on all cylinders. I agree with you. It's tough when he gets critiques, and obviously he's linked with Arsenal. I think Atletico Madrid were after him, and it proves that we need someone like him on all cylinders. 15 shots, only one on target, and I think when I saw the pass map, Richarlison was actually our most forward player through a large part of the game. Dominic Calvert-Lewin obviously dropping back again, could be match fitness. He's not got the energy to run up and down. Speaking of the game overall, though, were you surprised by the I'm going to say robust theme towards the game, or was that sort of the Duncan Ferguson's Everton you expected to come out?
So how do you mean, like
in terms of the just general tenacity and I'm going to say aggression, the temper, sort of. I don't know if it was Duncan Ferguson's Everton drilling or the atmosphere in Goodison, but it seemed to be quite an aggressive affair. There were a couple of a couple of kickoffs, there were a couple of tackles, fouls were given. I think they got 16 fouls to our 14.
I don't think anyone can criticise the players too much for lack of effort on Saturday. I think that was I think it was clear to see just how much the players wanted to win on Saturday, like more than usual. I mean, if you can accuse the players of like downing tools under Benitez or whatever, then I don't think that case could be made on Saturday. Certainly not. But but effort alone can't win football matches. So it's I see what you mean, and it was it's good to see, and it's stuff that gets the crowd going, flying tackles and stuff like that, and just giving that extra 10% that you wouldn't normally give. But like I say, it just wasn't enough to get anything out of the match for us.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody tweet, that's what passion only gets you 40%, which is what I think is fair enough. It's fair to say that's what we saw. We saw passion, but passion isn't always going to win your games. Sometimes you just need that little bit more, and sometimes all it takes is a bad set piece goal, the bread and butter of what we've been conceding all season, to undo a lot of effort. But in terms of moving forward, do you think, obviously it looks like Duncan Ferguson's not going to be in charge for the Newcastle game. Would you personally, after what you'd seen in the Villa game, would you say it would have been worth, giving him a little bit longer, maybe give him the Newcastle game, see what he can achieve there?
Well, I mean, the answer kind of depends on who we're intended to bring in to actually become the manager. But it wasn't the most convincing of job interviews from Duncan Ferguson. Like I said, I think he got one or two things wrong with team selection, and like you said, that passion was always going to be there, and that was the main focus of the bits that he said to the press in the week leading up to the game. He was hardly going to revolutionise us tactically. I mean, I think Saturday really hammered home, the last few weeks in particular, Norwich defeat and stuff like that, just how much trouble we're in. And I think, you really need a manager to proper shake things up. And I think, it's clear the system we're playing isn't working. And we need a manager that's going to implement a system that works straight from the off and, gets us playing more creatively and having a bit more idea of what we're doing going forward, as well as being a bit more solid defensively, which I think we saw a bit under Ferguson. Maybe helped by the fact that Mina was back in the starting lineup. But I think I think you need someone with a bit more nous, because I think there's no question about it. We are definitely in a relegation battle now, so you need someone a bit more dynamic, I'd say.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Obviously, you mentioned Gordon not being included, and I think it's fair to say that is one of the ones he got wrong. Were you surprised to see any more? John Joe Kenny at right back, or Andre Gomez in the centre of midfield. Did they shock you at all?
There was a couple of odd decisions. We don't know the ins and out. Obviously, as we're recording this, Patterson is playing for the under-23s. He started there, and so not entirely sure why he wasn't in the starting lineup on Saturday, because I know one or two people thought that might have been COVID, along with Mikalenko, because obviously Godfrey started at left back. So obviously these things are never really revealed to us in the week leading up. So unless it's an injury, we don't. Sometimes we don't know why a player's out. But starting Kenny over Coleman, because Coleman was on the bench, so he was clearly available to play. I don't know if there was an injury concern there or not, but I don't know what John Joe Kelly did to warrant a place over Coleman. As much as Coleman's been frustrating fans this season, I think he's still a much better option than John Joe Kenny is, and I think that showed during the game. He struggled at times, and not decision. Andre Gomez, I actually thought was one of our better players in the first half, and I actually thought it was quite surprising that he was hooked when he was. It was odd decision from Ferguson making two subs so early on in the second half, and then of course Doucouré pulls off about 10 minutes later, and suddenly we're out of subs with 25 minutes still left to play. So that was also a bit strange, but you're never going to get every decision right, and I don't think there's too much of an argument to say that starting Allen and Coleman would have made too much of a difference.
The subs are an interesting one. I thought that it was like 5 minutes, I think it was, after extra time, after the half time sort of thing, which made me think, why would you not just sub them at half time? Maybe thought you could get 5% more. I think Andre Gomez, I think he played well. I think the yellow card always made him look like he was a candidate for being subbed. And I think he struggled being part of a two-man midfield, because obviously there's a bit more defensively asked about him. Hence why he's picked up the yellow. I thought he was quite lucky as well, because there were a couple of times where he was grabbing older people. But we'll get onto that, because I'll get onto the referee's performance as well. That seemed to upset quite a lot of people. I do want to talk, obviously you mentioned Doucouré and his injury. Firstly, how much of it, we've heard it's a groin injury and he's at Finch Farm to get work on it, apparently. How much of a blow is that, though, if he's potentially out even for a couple of weeks?
Well, again, I mean, I think he's one of them that has kind of struggled to get going again since his injury. I think he's been a little off the pace for the last few matches, and sloppy passing and that. But regardless, I mean, we're not in a position to be picky over our players, and that's already a position that we're lacking options in. Of course, with Davis out for long term, Gbamin not really looking like he's up to it. It is only really Allen, Doucouré and Gomez that are options there. And as you say, Gomez doesn't seem to be able to operate too effectively in a two-man midfield, and Doucouré is one of them who's like that engine on him, by being able to contribute both offensively and defensively is a big miss, whether he's on the top of his game or not. So the position we're in at the moment is kind of the last thing we needed if he's going to be out for a few weeks, like it is suggested that he is.
Yeah, I agree, mate. The other one I wanted to ask you about was what you thought about Onyango when he came on.
I mean, he didn't really have too much time to have too much of an impact on the game, but I thought he came on and did all right, and I think he's definitely an option going forward. I felt, as I've just mentioned there, bit of a kick in the teeth for Gbamin with Onyango being chosen to come on ahead of him. Definitely does seem like the lad's been kind of written off almost by a combination of the coaching staff here. So I doubt he'll be at the club for too much longer. But Onyango, played all right. I think I think it's clear he's not like 100% ready for regular first team football. But like I say, if they're the options we have, he might have to try and make the step up a bit more. But wasn't like horrendous by any means. So.
No, he seems to be quite a physically imposing lad, doesn't he? I don't know how tall he actually is, but he sort of has quite gangly legs. I thought there were a couple of times where there's about 4 players kicking the ball at once, and he just has long enough legs to go and reach in and take it away. I agree with you. I don't think he's near full first team football, and I don't think he pulled up trees, but I thought he had a competent job. He did what did what was asked, sort of thing. Obviously, it leaves a question. You've mentioned Shabamin being out, and if he doesn't get picked, it leaves Alan. Then maybe he plays alongside Alan. Otherwise, it's on Yango. Either way, there could be a lot of work due for Alan, who I think is another one who looks a little bit off the pace. I don't know if he's been run ragged, but I thought recently, up until obviously when he came on, I thought he played well. But up until recently, I thought Alan looked a bit tired.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's to be expected. Like I said, like two-man midfielders, a lot more running involved, and I think he probably usually prefers that position to kind of just sit in a bit more, sitting maybe behind like one or two midfielders. And I think it is this insistence with this 4-4-2 system that we had for so long at the minute years, and I think it is coming back to bite us almost with all this. But yeah, I think Alan's almost undoubtedly the best centre midfielder we have anyway. And like you say, I thought he came on and played well against Villa anyway. So I'm not too concerned about that. No one's been on top form recently anyway. So hopefully, if he can continue as he seemed to do when he came on against Villa, then that shouldn't be too much of an issue. And we kind of need him to be honest, because yeah, like I say, especially with Decore out now, he's indisputably the best option we have in there. So he's definitely going to have to play.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a bit tough for him, but it's especially in the sort of situation the club finds itself in. We need as many of our better players as we can play in. Obviously, I'm not going to say by any stretch that this is why we lost, because it's certainly not. But the referee got some stick on Twitter, and I personally thought he didn't handle the game brilliantly. Give us your thoughts on it. I thought Matty Cash got away with one too many, in my opinion. But give us your thoughts on the referee.
Yeah, as it's been mentioned, it was always going to be quite a tough game to officiate, because, like you say, with Ferguson coming in and that fight that he'd been drilling into the players all week about how important it was to give everything. There was always going to be a bit of spice to the match, and there was several things you were just like almost baffled by. I think remember once or twice we were getting pulled back for like winning headers. I think Calvert-Lewin got booked for winning a header, whereas Villa players were getting with murder with almost the exact same thing, if not worse. And yeah, there was the incident with Matty Cash, of course, like you mentioned, where I think it was Gray brought down when he was like racing away. Like the typical, just take a yellow, stop the attack, get players back. But he should have been booked about 4 times before that in the first half, and like you just think if that had been the case, he wouldn't have been in the position to make that tackle, because he would have been off. So yeah, it was frustrating, but like you say, I don't think I think we can hardly have any too much complaints that it had too much of effect on the result. And yeah, there were definitely more questionable refereeing decisions in other matches over the weekend that we won't bother going into. But yeah, we all know what we're on about
there. Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. I don't think the referee would have made that much of a difference. It's not why we lost. We lost because, once again, we're failing to realise, well, I don't think we're failing to realise what our problems are. I think we're failing to fix the problems, which is set pieces. But yeah, there were some questionable ones. I think Alan got booked as well for having a go at the referee. Even though the ref had made a mistake, I think he sort of blew, even though we had advantage. And then when Alan pulled him up about it, got a yellow card. But to be fair, when Alan came on, I saw him swearing at the referee, and I said, he didn't get it that time, and he was definitely going to get booked the second time, because someone had commented the other day saying, I think it was on the post match, and they were saying, I've never seen a game where Alan doesn't tell the referee to do one. He seems to be that sort of passionate fire, doesn't he? And I'm certain F off are the only 2 words he knows fluently in English. They're the only 2 I ever see him use. Give me your we'll go into actual individuals now. Give me the player that you think could have done a little bit better for us.
I say we mentioned Calvert-Lewin not quite being on top of his game. I know Mason Holgate gets a lot of it's a lot of stick. Several of these, once again, these Hollywood passes that just don't come off and are just not what we need. You're a centre back, do the simple bits. While we're in a position where we're looking for a goal, we don't need these 30-yard passes over looking for John Joe Kenny, because he's not going to be in the positions that those passes are suited for. He's one of the more frustrating ones as usual, Mason Holgate. And again, it could be argued that Keane should have been given a nod over him, even though he's been in poor form recently. But you'd think next to Mina, he might have been a bit more comfortable and a bit more of an aerial presence as well, which we probably could have done with. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Mason Holgate is one that boggles. How he's still at Everton, no offence to the lad, boggles my mind. And I know, there's Michael Keane's suspect to a couple of Hollywood passes now and then, but 9 times out of 10, I think Michael Keane can manage them. I've not seen enough from Mason Holgate to suggest that he should be, firing 30-yard balls to John Joe Kenny at any point in the game. Seems as well, I've asked you, who didn't perform very well, who could do a little bit better. Give me the players that you thought performed well, your man of the match.
Well, I mean, you can hardly really argue with Gordon, even though he was only given the second half. I thought once again our most positive player once he was on, and he looked like our only real source of chances, to be honest. Second half was when we were a lot more threatening, and I thought he played a big part in that. And it's crazy that we're in a position where 19, 20-year-old, whatever he is, he's one of the players we rely on the most. But that is the position we find ourselves in. I think that has hopefully hammered home to Ferguson, or whoever does take the next game. Obviously, it will almost certainly be someone new that we're not entirely sure on yet when we next play. But I think that game must have proved to them that he's got to be first name on the team sheet. And Anthony Gordon, I thought once again played really well. And I'll give a mention to Richarlison as well. I thought you can never fault that lad. He always gives his all, and just sometimes that's not quite enough. Maybe just wasn't in the positions to take away any chances. So.
Yeah, that's fair. I think if there's any shining light you can take off this horrendous season, it is that Anthony Gordon seems to be the sort of star boy in this Everton side. Obviously, unfortunately, that's another loss. I'm interested to get your opinion on this. A couple of people aren't panic stations yet. Cal Brannan, who was on for the post-match, said to me on the live that he isn't panic stations yet. Looking at our form, 1 draw, 4 losses in the last 5, Newcastle next. Are you starting to get a little bit worried about the relegation zone creeping up on us? Are you panic stations yet, or do you think we've got enough in it to sort of see it off?
I am panicking a bit because obviously there's so much uncertainty at the moment. Like I say, we've got our next game in 2 weeks, and we don't know who's going to be taking it yet. Don't know who's going to be manager. Don't know if we're going to make the right choice for it. And I do think we really need to get that right. And I mean, you look at the run of fixtures we've got. We need to start picking up wins now. We can't this form cannot continue, because the running we have at the end of the season is tough, and we're going to really struggle to get points out of that, even if we're playing well. And so you've got your games against your Leeds, is your Newcastles, and I think we've got Burnley coming up as well, February, March time, and they're the games we really need to be winning, because they're the teams in and around us, and that is pretty much 6 pointers. And I think Norwich in particular, I keep going back to it, but I think the loss at Norwich, I think, really should hammer home for a lot of fans that this is a very poor team and a very poor run of form, and unless things turn around soon, you do struggle to see where the next 3 points are coming from. But it's got to be now, to be honest. So yeah, I am panicking a little bit. It's got to be said.
Yeah. I was going to say, obviously we've got Brentford in the FA Cup, which. But then in the league, we've got Newcastle, and then we've got Leeds, both 2 teams that are around the zone. need to be picking up points for the teams around there. Southampton, who are a little bit ahead, but then, like you said, it gets a little bit harder. We've got City, Tottenham, Wolves, who are, impressing a couple of people this season. Watford, who've already beat us. West Ham and United after that. Palace, and then you get into that really hard end of the season that you're on about, where we've got Liverpool, Leicester, Chelsea, and Arsenal on the last day. So we need to, I'd say these next 4 games, I don't think we're going to get much against City. It's imperative that we get 3 points from all of these and just give ourselves that little bit of distance away from the zone. And obviously Burnley.
It's also got to be mentioned, that we've got the rescheduled games to come soon with Burnley and Newcastle at home to Newcastle, away to Burnley, that were obviously cancelled around Christmas time. So we have no idea when they're going to be. If they're plonks towards the end, in that really bad run of form where, or really tough run of fixtures either, where confidence will be low, that could really be a kicker. But it also, of course, could be an opportunity to turn things around and try and pick out 3 or 6 points out of a really tough run of form, which might be crucial by the end of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the last thing you want is, especially if it's someone like Newcastle, is to, a loss there, if it's near those bad, those tough run of games, they'll just demoralise the squad, which I think it's fair to say with this bunch of players, the last thing you need is a demoralising loss before some tough fixtures. They've seemed very much, morale is quite important in this Everton squad, I feel, and the last thing you need to, want to do is kick them while they're down. I'm panicking, but I'm not, hitting the panic button yet. I think Newcastle is where that'll be make or break on the panic situation for me. We need to and should be beating Newcastle, really.
Yeah, definitely. Of course. The others there's still a little bit of uncertainty. Of course, we've got a week left for the January transfer window. You have no idea how much money they're going to still be chucking around, desperately trying to bolster their squads and get away from the relegation places themselves. But yeah, the current squad they've got and the form they're in, even away at St James's Park, it's the type of game we really have to be winning. Definitely, yeah, I agree.
No worries. I would normally ask you, would you go with the same, would you expect the manager to stick with the same formation? But as you've pointed out, it's a bit of a hard one to ask you that, because at this current moment in time, it could be anybody from Wayne Rooney, Frank Lampard, Kovac, Pereira, probably the milkman at this rate. It could be absolutely anybody there. So I'm still gonna ask it, but I'm gonna ask it more on a personally. Would you stick with the same personnel that he stuck out, or would you go for something slightly different?
Well, as we touched upon, the new manager's hands might be tied a little bit with Decore out, and you wonder if how effective it's going to be plumping with three central midfielders, if those central midfielders are including either Onyango or Gabama, which are pretty much have to be if you're going to go with your 3 central midfielders. So I'm not entirely sure what I'd do, to be honest. Obviously we got Brentford's our next match, FA Cup, Goodison. You'd hope, almost similarly again, FA Cup. It's a chance to try and go on the run. We sometimes struggle to even get past the first round. To just, one win on the board might be enough to bolster the fans, and it might be a case for another one of those kind of fiery matches where the players are chucking themselves about a bit, like we saw at Villa almost. But I think some certainties have to be that I think if Mina's fit, he's got to start. I think Gordon's got to be starting every game now. He's still going to persist with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, I think, up front, because the alternatives are completely out of the question. And you also hope that if Mykolenko really was out with COVID, which I think we're all almost pretty certain he was in Villa, that he'll be back for that game as well, and is our best left back option, and maybe seeing Patterson as well, of course. So yeah, it could be a very different team, almost certainly, like we say, under a new manager when we face Brentford in 2 weeks. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, hopefully, mate. I think Patterson's got an assist as well today in the under-23s game that he's playing in, so promising signs there already. But that is everything I've got time for. Thank you, Alex, for joining me on the extra time segment, mate. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
And you too, mate. Nice one.
Don't forget, guys, like the video, comment down below your thoughts on the Villa game, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And most importantly, stay safe.